Hey, let's go on a little trip to Salem's Yours. Hello, welcome back to my world of stuff. My name remains Paul Mount. I've just taken a little trip to see Salem's Lot, the latest adaptation of Stephen King's second horror novel, which was published in 1975. It's well known for having a mini TV series in 1979, a bit of a classic starring David Soul. Then I believe there was another mini-series in 1984 that starred Rob Lowe. I think there's been a radio version. It's probably the most dramatised of all Stephen King's works. I'm not hugely familiar with the story. I've seen the David Soul version many years ago. I've never read the book, but it is now on my reading list. And I came to the new version of Salem's Lot just looking for some vampire action, because I do like a vampire movie. I like my Dracula. I like all the classic Hammer horror films. I like the Universal horror films. And some of the more modern vampire films, 30 Days of Night, for example, are particular favourites. But the vampire has been done some disservices in the last few years. People have dug deeper into the vampire mythos, and they've tried to make these allegories about coming out and coming of age and vampires as sparkly, twinkly, romantic heroes. No. Vampires are monsters. Vampires are undead creatures that suck your blood, kill you and turn you into vampires. That's the sort of vampire story that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the allegorical side and trying to make them fit into today's fractured, twisted, confused world. Don't give me that crap. Give me a vampire film with monsters in it, and Salem's Lot delivers just that. Now, as I said, I don't have any particular loyalty to the original 1979 version. I do know it. I've seen it years ago. I know it's very good and very well regarded, and it is a superb version of the story. But as I said, I've never read the book. I have very little memory of the story, so I came to this new version with a fairly open mind towards it. Now, it's not been very well reviewed. I understand it's been sitting on the shelves for a couple of years since it was made, and I also understand that there were some decisions had to be made about whether it was ever going to be shown anywhere. It was at the time one of those titles that was never going to be issued, but in the end it's gone to the Max streaming service in America, and over here it's getting a cinematic release, which is interesting because I think when you watch it, it feels a bit like a TV movie. Certainly it's got sort of TV movie titles and music, but when you get into it, and as I said, I went in wanting to watch a vampire film, that's exactly what I saw. This is a really good version of Salem's Lot. It's had some iffy reviews. People have said it's bloodless and anemic, probably because they just wanted to make those jokes about vampire films. But it isn't. It's sharp-toothed. It's got its fangs, and it's got some bite to it. There you are, that's my old vampire jokes for you there. It stars Lee Pullman, son of the great Bill, who plays Ben Mears. He's a writer. He's had some success writing some novels. He's a middlingly successful writer. He's returned to the town of Jerusalem's Lot, or Salem's Lot in Maine, which of course is Stephen King's stomping ground. I think he sets all his stories there. And he wants to investigate something from his past, which took place at Marston Manor. It's not exactly a mansion, it's not exactly a castle, but it's quite a forbidding property structure which looms large over Salem's Lot. It's been empty for ages. When he gets there, he visits the local estate agents, where he meets Susan Norton. She's played by Mackenzie Lee. She sort of becomes his love interest in the film, which is no surprise if you know the story. And he's interested in Marston Manor. He's particularly interested when he finds out that somebody's just moved in, taking it over. Mysterious Barlow. No, not that Barlow. He's this mid-European aristocrat who's taken over the property with his partner Straker, and they set up a business called Barlow and Straker in the town. However, not long after Ben arrives in the town, strange things start happening. There are a number of unusual and unnatural deaths amongst the community. One young boy disappears and is presumed missing. His brother is killed by something supernatural and evil, and soon this plague of evil sweeps its way across the town in the form of the villainous Barlow. No, not that Barlow! Barlow is in fact a centuries-old vampire who has embedded himself in the town to corrupt the town and create a new force of vampires. Once Ben and his cadre of accomplices throughout the film, including the local priest who sort of lost his faith, the local doctor played by Alfred Woodward, who incidentally is a male character in the book, and various other characters that he sort of meets on the way, the local teacher, who was a favourite character of mine. He discovers that there's something very nasty going on at Master Manor, and together they team up to sort of defeat this new wave of vampirism that's sweeping the town. This is just a great old school monster film. It's a vampire film. And it's great to see a vampire film where they are depicted that way again. As I've said, there's been too much emphasis put on romanticising them and making them analogous to society and the way we live now and blah, 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 all the things that people go through. But these are monsters. These are killing machines that are just devastating the town. I've looked back at the précis of the book because I wanted to see how much of the film is like the book. And it is very true what the director has said, and I can't remember his name, but I put it there. He said that with something like this, you try to follow the line of the book as much as you can until it becomes too unwieldy, and then you take it in a slightly different direction. And certainly the second half of the film deviates quite a bit from the book in very ingenious ways. I won't spoil it for you, but where the vampires hide out during the day is very, very clever and very well done. And it sort of hinges on the fact that some of the action takes place at a drive-in movie theatre. The film is set in the 70s, as was the book. So you don't have mobile phones, you don't have computer technology, you don't have all that stuff. It feels like a piece where people are lost and trapped in this town and on their own, fighting against this monster. They haven't got all the trappings of modern technology. And it's very clever the way that the film moves towards its climax. It's very pacey towards the end. It's a bit slow to start, and it takes a while to sort of get its groove, but certainly the last 40 minutes or so, it's really exciting. It's quite creepy in places. The vampires do that vampire thing. They appear from nowhere. There are some really good scenes of them lined up on the roofs of the town, just waiting to pounce on the people who haven't yet been converted. The monstrous Barlow himself, I'm not going to do that again. The monstrous Barlow is very much cast in the image of sort of Nosferatu, the classic vampire. And if I'm looking forward to any film coming this year, it's Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. You might have seen a couple of the trailers that have been released. That looks terrific, and that's coming out over Christmas. What a Christmas present that will be. Film about a bloodthirsty vampire. But no, he's got that look about him, the sort of the demonic sort of ears and that sort of vampire, classic vampire look. And the last half an hour is really exciting. And there are some genuine chills in this. I found this quite spooky and quite eerie. The town is sort of wreathed in mist towards the end, and these vampires are looming out of the darkness. And they move very fast. And they're savage creatures. And there's a couple of scenes which are quite jumpy. They do make you jump a little bit, and as I've said before, I'm not one who scares easily, but this is one that makes you go, wow, this is quite sort of startling. Really enjoyable. I was not sure about Lee Pullman's performance at first. He seemed a bit insipid. If anybody's anemic in this film, it's him. But he steps up in the second half and he sort of energises himself. But the character seems a bit of a wet week, as we say down here in South Wales. And there wasn't a lot of oomph to him. He just seemed to be wandering around, not reacting very much. And I couldn't really see what Susan Norton saw in him because he was a bit bloodless. Sorry, I've used another one of those vampire-y comments and jokes. But all in all, I think towards the end, he really stepped up and became a sort of action hero. And certain things happen that you see him enraged. Yeah, it's not a bad performance in the end, but it takes a while to get there. So all in all, I did promise that this would be a short review. I would recommend this film. I mean, if you remember the original or any of the remake, you might have them sort of strong memories of particularly the original version. As I said, I've only seen it once years ago, so I was coming to this not exactly fresh, but willing to let it do its thing, and it did do its thing. I really enjoyed it. But as I said, if you have a particular fondness for the book and that original version, you may find this a bit wanting because it does go in slightly different directions. But I think it was just nice to see good old-fashioned vampire monster film on the big screen again, because we haven't seen that for quite a while because of, as I've said, vampires. They've tried to rehabilitate them a bit, and you can't rehabilitate creatures like them. They're horrible buggers. So anyway, I recommend Salem's Lot. As I said, the reviews have been iffy, but I really enjoyed it. I had a good couple of hours of fun with it, and I think you will too. It's creepy, it's dark, It's inventive. It's it's an experience, and I recommend you pop out and see it straight away. I'm going to give Salem's Lot a big chunky 8 out of 10 because it's a good one. In cinemas now, and I think it's coming to streaming in the next few weeks, so you might want to save your pennies, but I think it's worth seeing on the big screen. Right, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video, this review of Salem's Lot. If you have, if you're new here, why not press that subscribe button? Subscriber numbers are creeping up day by day. It's very exciting times. So like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you've seen Salem's Lot, if you're planning to see Salem's Lot. If you're not, go and see it, because I think you'll enjoy it. So stick around for more stuff to come in my world of stuff. I will see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.